Welcome back to Connect the World. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Great to have you with us. Here are your headlines. U.S. senators are in their 25th hour of marathon debate on President Donald Trump's domestic policy bill. They're now pushing towards their final vote. Senators have been voting on dozens of amendments, with only a few of them passing so far. If approved, the bill would go back to the House for a vote on the Senate changes. U.S. President Donald Trump spending part of his day visiting a new migrant detention facility in South Florida, which Republicans have dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. Crews quickly transformed an Everglades airstrip into a tent city to house some 5,000 migrants waiting to be deported. Critics call it dehumanizing and environmentally unsafe. The head of Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital says an Israeli airstrike on an internet cafe Monday killed more than 40 people. He says dozens more were injured and that many women and children were among the casualties. The Israeli military says it hit several Hamas operatives Monday and that the incident is under review. Here in the United States, Senate Republicans have made a last-minute provision in Mr. Trump's spending bill that could set the renewable energy industry back decades. It will also increase the price of electricity for millions of Americans across the country, according to energy analysts. The bill was already set to scrap a Biden-era tax incentive for renewables. Now, some Republicans want to go even further and add a tax on the solar and wind industry, but not everyone is on board. CNN's chief climate correspondent Bill Wier is in New York and joins us now live. Good to see you, Bill.
Hi, Lynda.
So some say this will decimate essentially this renewable industry of wind and solar power. Just what sort of impact could it have if the bill passes?
Well, I tell you, everybody knows that President Trump is a good friends with oil and gas, not a fan of wind and solar. So everybody knew that some of those incentives from Joe Biden, the Inflation Reduction Act, would get clawed back. But so many of those projects are in Republican districts right now, so they thought there would be more of a fight. Well, then comes the new language in the dead of night, early Saturday morning, that adds new sort of punishing taxes on these industries in ways that would literally smother them, murder them, beyond the point of resuscitation by a future Democratic president. That seems to be the strategy here. But what we're seeing is pushback from Republican senators like Joni Ernst and Chuck Grassley in Iowa, where 60% of the electricity comes from renewables. Places like Oklahoma, which the musical taught us, where the wind comes whistling across the plain, has huge amounts of wind capacity now. So utility bills in that state could go up 18%. That's almost $850 per household a year by 2035. So the economic implications of this let's kill solar and wind legislation is getting some pushback. But Lisa Murkowski up in Alaska, maybe she's getting offered other sweeteners to vote yes for this sort of thing right now. But that's just the pocketbook stuff, Lynda. Not to mention the fact the Chamber of Commerce opposes this because it could kill 800,000 jobs. Elon Musk hates this because it punishes the industries of the future and basically props up the industries of the 18th century, coal and oil. You've got so many people from all quarters railing against this right now, but we shall see if that fealty to Trump overcomes all the logic against these ideas.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to sing some music from the musical Oklahoma.
I don't say.
Maybe for another day. But I do want to ask you about Texas. It does lead the nation, right, in wind and solar, and there are certainly a lot of Republican voters there. How is it going to impact people in Texas?
Well, it's interesting. Chris Wright is the energy secretary. He comes from oil and gas, big cheerleader for oil and gas, and he's trying to spin this that wind and solar is unreliable for the grid. It's the opposite. Texas has its own grid, separate from the rest of the United States, and they just put out a statement that they're more stable, more sustainable during heat waves or those freak cold snaps that they had a couple of years ago because of that renewable energy and the battery storage. And so when somebody talks about the wind, the energy stops when the sun goes down or the wind stops, that's such an old argument because batteries now are part of the cheapest part of this equation. So it stores it for days, that energy right now. So yeah, that's the sort of pushback you're getting in these places. And also places in Georgia, for example, where big new battery plants were set to go, big clean energy projects in Nevada. So this has sweeping consequences right now, and it really is driven by Donald Trump's desire to just squash something that he sees as different from his party and his beliefs.
Yeah, and I'm just hearing, Bill, from my producer, that the Senate Majority Leader believes he has the votes to pass this bill shortly, so we will bring our viewers an update on that. But appreciate your perspective on what it will mean for millions of Americans. Thanks so much, Bill. Appreciate it.
Right.